Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I thought I would chat with you guys a little bit about something I've done with my own diet and something that would be helpful to a lot of you. And no, it's not just me making this up. There are people out there who are nutrition gurus who discuss this stuff, and that's how do we deal with certain amounts of lactose intolerance. And so people have pointed out to me, well, we think part of what you did was the reason that you don't have these issues is not just the moving from the UK, which had the horrible milk, but all the probiotics and things that you ate. And there's a lot of different factors, and I've talked to various people I know, and someone even linked me some stuff that Lyle McDonald had written that actually matched very much with what I have done. And he's a very, very well respected guy in this whole industry as far as nutrition goes, and sports nutrition. And he has actually said that yogurt can actually offset these things, and it makes sense. And when I say yogurt, I want people to understand I'm talking about full-fat Greek yogurt with no sugars added. That's one of the things that I want to make very, very clear when we talk about any foods like that, that I am opposed to refined sugar. If any of my clients start telling me, well, they're taking a lot of refined sugars unless they're an enormous undereater trying to bulk, I'm going to say that's probably not ideal. I don't like people in the fitness world promoting any of this stuff. That's why I don't like flexible dieting. I am of the opinion, and you guys can disagree all you want, that refined sugars are a poison. They're a poison. I don't think human beings should be consuming them. Right? I don't view that much differently than smoking cigarettes or something like that. Right? It's useless to you. And that includes that. And the data is pretty heavy in that direction. But like with anything else, you can tolerate a certain amount of poison, but there's an upper limit, and it's toxic to your body. It hurts you, and that includes eating a bunch of it in your yogurt. So I want to make that clear. I'm not telling you to go get a sugary yogurt. I'm talking about plain, whole-fat Greek yogurts with live cultures. Same thing with the milk. I'm doing the higher fat milk. It's whole milk. That matters as far as the way that your body processes the lactose. So a couple different points I want to make with that is that what I did before I went over to doing my gallon of milk a day, and I want people to recognize something like, Jason, your nutrition stuff has kind of adjusted a lot this year. Yeah, and what are we noticing? That I'm about to turn 43. As far as my whole YouTube career goes, in terms of my strength relative to my body weight, it's the best it's ever been, right? Because I walk around at a lighter body weight now than I did even when I competed in the UK. People forget that was a water cut. I did a water cut to get into the 220. I walk around 220 now, and I squat more. Okay? I squat quite a bit more, not peaking or anything like that, than I did then. All right, I'm at a lighter body weight. So my relative strength is dramatically better. My body composition is the best you guys have probably seen in terms of fat versus muscle. I have the best conditioning you guys have seen me have, and my overall health is the best that it's ever been, and I'm now in my 40s. It's the best that it's been the entire time I've been on YouTube, and I think the nutrition plays a role in that. And I've kind of pushed away and said, you know what? I don't think carb-based diets are the way to go. Carbs need to be seen purely as a fuel source for your training, and outside of that, they really have no value. I don't think they're particularly useful for anything else. And so basically your training needs might dictate how many dietary carbs you need based upon how much other fat and protein and things you're getting that convert into glucose to some extent. And in my case, I get all of my carbs from my gallon of milk. It's about 200 a day, but I'm on over 4,000 calories because that's what I burn. That's what I burn through. So I put a heavy focus on fat and protein. But as far as the yogurt goes, why? One of the things that you have to think about, what is yogurt? You take something like this Greek yogurt, and people who are lactose intolerant can eat this one. They can eat this usually just fine without any problems because the lactose has been cultured into something else. And the thing is, the inability to drink milk is a negative to you. Milk itself is probably, particularly whole milk, based on most of the studies we look at, is probably one of the most anabolic body composition changing substances you can find out there that's not a drug. As far as foods go, it is at the top. And even whole fat milk is not linked with obesity. It's not linked with health problems. When you start looking at meta-analysis, it's generally linked with superior health and superior body composition and being leaner. That's what the epidemiology shows. This is a superfood. It is a superfood. So your inability to drink it is actually hurting you potentially, and it's extremely cost effective. So when you think about it, what's going on with this? Well, it's the cultures have broken down the lactose. Well, these gut flora, when you establish them in your GI tract, they do what? They stay there. These are your good bacteria. Well, they culture lactose. Not just an issue of the lactase enzyme, it's the issue of, do you even have that much lactose in your gut anyways? Is it enough for this stuff to handle and turn into something else and to go ahead and break the lactose down for you so that you don't need the enzyme to the same extent, right? That's a big factor. And what I did before I went on my gallon a day, I ate an entire container of this. Yes, that's 800 calories worth of full-fat Greek yogurt every day for a month before I started this. I've had zero problems. Now, I occasionally am coming back through and eating more of this, which is why I have some, but it's not regular. I would say maybe once a week, about once a week, once every 10 days, I eat a full container of this. But generally speaking, the cultures in the Greek yogurt feed on lactose. That is their fuel. That's what they prefer. This will keep them alive. So if you're giving them lactose every single day, those cultures are not going to be reduced. They're going to stay in your gut. They're going to stay in your gut because you're feeding them every single day with milk. And if you look at what they do with yogurt, it's usually close to body temperature, in which this very, very quickly converts lactose into the broken down lactose in your cultured yogurts and things. So from that perspective, you've actually created a live culture for this inside your intestine. By consuming this, it will handle that for you. Number two, lactose intolerance is totally different with low fat and fat-free versus whole milk. This slows down the absorption and digestion. It slows it down. The fat in it slows it. That actually reduces the symptoms of lactose intolerance. Now, in my case, I see zero symptoms of any type, even though I seem to have had some predisposition towards it. I don't have any right now. Probably the combination of this with the whole milk. I drink a whole gallon every day. I don't get any gas, any bloating, zero, none. All right, this might be a useful tool for a lot of you out there, this combination. The other thing is, and I am saying that this may not work if you do skim milk. And people need to quit being afraid of milk fat. And I'm not talking about butter. I want to make that clear when I say eating whole foods. We look at the data and blood work out there. Consuming butter, and yes, even your grass-fed butter, guys, I don't want to hear that crap, is not the same thing as drinking milk fat in the milk. You're eating a highly processed, highly refined food that is associated with negative blood work. This isn't. The studies do not show the same effect when you drink it in milk. And that's its own separate topic. So when I say milk fat, I am talking about whole fat dairy like this. Just yogurt. I'm talking about whole milk. I'm not talking about eating butter. So I don't want to hear that stupid crap from you guys about grass-fed butter being so amazing. No, it's not. Go check your LDL cholesterol. It's not as amazing as you think it is. This is okay. And it's not linked with heart disease. It's not linked with obesity. And if anything, every single study that's looked at whole milk in lifters and athletes finds whole milk, just like whole eggs, produces a larger anabolic response, a larger amount of protein synthesis, even when protein is equal. So therefore, the protein synthesis from consuming whole milk is better than skim milk, even with the same amount of grams of protein. Post-workout in athlete after athlete after athlete when it's been studied. Right, this is a superior anabolic food. Dietary fat's your friend. Let's come to that other point. Let's talk about my health, injuries, things like that. Every study that's ever looked at it in endurance athletes have higher rates of injury than lifters do. In other words, if you're a marathoner, you are more likely to get hurt than you are powerlifting. Okay, just a reality. They have lower injury rates relative to the amount of fat in their diet. The higher their dietary fat is, the lower their injury rate is. There's a direct correlation. Eat your fat. All right, eat your fat. This is anabolic. And this combination for a lot of you out there who think that you're lactose intolerant, talking about, well, I couldn't do what you do, I'd be on the toilet all day. Well, you're probably not doing what I do. You think you're doing what I do because you went and didn't do anything to build your cultures up in your gut, right? You think you're doing what I do because you didn't build the cultures up in your gut with something like a yogurt first to make sure you have healthy gut flora, number one. Number two, you might be trying to drink a gallon of skim milk a day. So when you say you couldn't do what I do, you might want to make sure that you actually are talking about doing what I do, not what you think that I do. There's a big difference between the two, and this might help you. Just a tip from me, right? Just a tip, baby. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.